Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube? Diggy546, and as always, this is the first post game of the year. So post games are just going to be raw. We're not going to do an intro. We're just going to get straight to it. And today, I would say I have some mixed emotions. I was kind of disappointed not to see Daniel Jones and the starting offensive line and all those guys, but I wasn't surprised because we didn't see them last year after the Detroit practices. So why we see them this year after we had better practices against Detroit, and then also, the practices this year was they were a lot more physical. So I can understand why we didn't throw him out there, but I do think it's important for Daniel Jones to gel with that offensive line. I think it's important for him to gel with guys like Malik Neighbors and Jalen Hyatt, guys who he's barely played with. So I did think that we missed some opportunity there, but at the same time, I understand. Detroit, and that we've been fighting all week. So you probably don't want to then throw your franchise quarterback, at least for now, and all of your most valuable players out there when they're kind of in the midst of just attacking folks. And speaking of that, we did have Malik Neighbors out there for maybe about 8 or 9 plays, and he was open about 3 or 4 times, and Drew Lock just wasn't able to give him the ball. It is what it is. A couple of times Drew Lock just missed him. And when I say missed him, I mean just didn't see him. Was looking at the other side of the field. So I'm not sure if they just had Malik Neighbors out there just to kind of just please the fans, just not go out there and just run for a little while. But didn't really do much because he wasn't targeted. And that I know once we get into the regular season, Malik Neighbors is going to be targeted. So for all the folks that are, concerned about that, I'm not really concerned. Let's see, where do I want to go? I don't even have any notes. This is just right after the game. Eric Gray, probably the star of this game. Eric Gray had a 48-yard touchdown, 52 total yards as far as running. And then catching the ball, he was 4 for 4, the leading receiver, 4 for 4, 4 targets, 4 catches, 46 yards. So Eric Gray went over 90-something yards, close to 100 yards. Had a 24-yard catch and, again, a 48-yard run, and then 2 rushing touchdowns that was set up. The second rushing touchdown was a 1-yard score set up by the former quarterback, Tyree Jackson, who just looks like he's still a quarterback out there, but he's out there making plays as a tight end. So that's something that's interesting. Is he a sleeper, to kick one of these guys off of the roster? I don't think so, but he looked pretty good today. 4 targets, 2 catches. But as far as just throwing the ball in general, nothing really stood out as far as going down the field, which has been the theme of this offense forever. I mean, for as long as I can remember with this whole, not regime when I say the coaching staff, but Daniel Jones, since he's gotten here, since the Eli Manning era has ended, the deep shots are not happening. And this isn't even me talking about Daniel Jones specifically. I'm just saying in general, the deep shots have gone down really since Odell Beckham left and since Ben McAdoo got here with the West Coast offense. But a lot of short passes. Tommy DeVito was 8 for 15. Not that good. 92 yards. And Drew Lock was 4 for 10 for 17 yards before he left with an injury. He threw an interception. We got sacked twice. I thought DeVito did a good job maneuvering the pocket. I thought Drew Lock kind of needed to do a little bit better maneuvering the pocket. But nonetheless, I wouldn't say the offensive line looked horrible. I wouldn't say the quarterbacks were horrible as far as navigating the pocket on a play-in, play-out basis, at least when you look at DeVito, because they were only sacked twice. Zudu was out there left tackle to start the game. He was kind of just pushing these edge rushers off the edge all the way around the corner. So I'm not really upset with Zudu for giving up that sack because Drew Lock kind of just ran into that sack. Who else kind of stood out? Tyrone Tracy. He was a starting running back today. And as soon as I saw him touch the ball in his first carry, I was like, this dude is going to be a player for us. I just kind of immediately noticed that. His longest run was a 12-yard run and kind of didn't do much more after that. He averaged like 5 yards a carry, but just the eye test showed you that he's a guy that can make somebody miss. Tacklers just bounced off of him routinely, and he looked good touching the football. It's like if you just look at this box score, 26 yards, 5 attempts, 5 yards a carry. You're like, okay, he had a decent game as far as when he touched it. But when you actually look at him playing, you kind of think that he's a guy that's just waiting to make some huge plays. Eric Gray already touched on, had that long run where he made a cut. And this is the Eric Gray that we've been wanting to see since he got here. I mean, last year, he just didn't have the opportunity. And this is also why I'm excited for a guy like Saquon Barkley to be on a new team, because we can actually have multiple running backs, and they'll actually let them touch the football. Because Eric Gray pretty much got buried. Being the third running back, he never, ever touched the football. Maybe once or twice a game. And there's no way you can get into a rhythm that way. And even Matt Breida barely touched the football. How is Matt Breida this speed demon, and not once did he break a long run? He never even had, I think, a 35-plus yard run as a Giant. And that's because he barely touched the football. It just is what it is. So I'm excited to see this running back by committee. And then Dante Miller. Let's go to the fourth running back. Dante Miller, he's fast. As soon as he touched the football, as soon as this guy touched the football, he like almost teleported like 3 yards. Like his 3 yard runs look like if that one person didn't grab him, he's going to score. So he lives up to his name. Definitely lives up to his name. He had a 19-yard run off of the edge. And for a guy that I don't think is all that elusive, he is really great at finding the gaps of where to run. Like he's able to get these 2 or 3 yard runs. He's able to get these 4 yard runs. And that was something I was a little concerned, because I'm like, he's a guy that's a home run hitter, but can he do it? And he's able to find these small holes to get these 2 and 3 yard runs. And that's something I noticed with Eric Gray, that besides that big run that he had, he does a lot of sideways kind of running. Dante Miller, not so much. He accelerates extremely fast. And if you give him a hole, he's going to house it. It's just that simple. Receiving-wise, like I said, there was not much to write about receiving-wise, because the quarterbacks didn't really do much. Eric Gray had a nice over-the-shoulder catch, and I'm talking more about the running backs. But other than that, there wasn't really much going on. Tyree Jackson already talked about. Allen Robinson had a nice sideline catch. I think that was from Drew Lock. So nice catch there. Bellinger had a nice catch over the middle. But as far as the wide receivers, nothing much happened. Let's hope that we can see something else next week, because I would say, what are we got Neighbors, we got Hyatt, we got Robinson, we got Slayton. Out of those four, they didn't really play much, besides Neighbors was out there for a little while, but they weren't throwing it to him. So after that four, the as far as guys that can make things happen, they weren't making things happen. Isaiah Hodgins, the rest of these guys just weren't making anything happen. So I don't know if that was just how the game went, but receiving-wise, nothing much happened there. So let's take a look at the defense. I would say your defensive MVP for the guy that just continued to continue to jump off of the field, and that would be Deontay Johnson. Not Deontay Johnson on the Steelers, but Deontay Johnson, who's a second-year linebacker. He was always around the football. He was a sure tackler, besides when Hendon Hooker kind of ran over him. But besides that, Deontay Johnson was all over the place. 3 tackles, but he was always around the football. And he's somebody that I'm going to definitely be paying a lot of attention to. Darian Beavers, he showed that he's a good run stuffer, as we already kind of knew. Trey Herndon caught an interception and then fumbled it, so kind of undid his good play. Some other people that stood out to me on defense as far as just the eye test, Elijah Chapman, a couple of nice rushes from the interior. Jordan Riley, really nice run stops. Aziz was in the backfield over and over and over and over again. And that's what I expect from him because he's playing against second and third stringers. So he should be in the backfield over and over and over again. Deonte Banks had a nice tackle on a screen, but not much. I mean, I would say as a unit, the defense held up really well against the run until we got into like our third, fourth string kind of players. But as far as our second team, they did really well against the run. Didn't really give up much at all. I mean, because if you look at the Giants, 92 yards from DeVito, 17 for Drew Lock, 96 from Nate Sudfeld, 36 from Hendon Hooker. And most of what they got, like I said, was in the second half of the fourth quarter. So our defense as a whole, they look good. They look good. Now, it is backups. It is the first game, first preseason game. But I would say our defense looked good as a whole. Other than that, I mean, it was just football. It was football. It was good to see it. We're going to have to improve on some things. I mean, from what I saw, as far as making some of these explosive plays happen, because these guys are backups, but you never know, they may have to play. And DeVito took a couple of shots, and they weren't ready for the football. They were kind of jogging down the field. Giles is one guy. I think his name is John Giles. And he looked like he wasn't really ready for the football. So they got to tighten that up. They got to make some explosive plays. We have to see that. And we can't say it's just vanilla, it's just preseason. We'll see it in the regular season because we haven't seen these explosive plays for years. And we always say, oh, they'll just happen in the regular season, and they never do. So we got to get some of these plays happening. And it's just that simple. Bryce Ford Wheaton, John Giles, Isaiah Hodgins, McKenzie, Allen Robinson. These are all guys that have some potential to be able to make plays at the receiver position, and I want to see them make these plays, or else, I mean, they gotta make these plays. It's just that simple. I mean, we need even our backups to be able to get some things done, especially because these guys are fighting for this seventh wide receiver spot, and if again no one on that list can make anything happen, we're going to keep 6 wide receivers. So you guys let me know what you thought of this game. I don't think it was anything too crazy. I would say the stars of this game were the running backs and Deontay Johnson and a really good defensive line play. So you guys let me know what you think.